Hey guys, hope you are having a good day. So my name is Siva Prasad, and as you know, I have been bringing to you this mini series on science and technology current affairs presented by me, Siva Prasad. So in the previous lesson, you might have noticed we discussed the 7 mega missions that have been planned by Indian Space Research Organization or ISRO in the next 10 years. And one of the missions we discussed was Aditya L1. So today I am going to talk more about Aditya L1, and in this process we will try to understand what Aditya L1 is going to try to learn from the observations of the sun. And this brings us to a discussion on the sun itself, the various parts of the sun, right, and also a question on whether any other space missions or missions similar to Aditya L1 has been planned or is in progress. So we will talk about the Solar Parker probe as well in this particular lesson. So let's start with Aditya satellite or Aditya L1. This is ISRO's first scientific expedition to the sun. Before this, there were no such expeditions. Initially, remember this Aditya L1, it was called as Aditya 1, and it was conceived to be a 400 kilogram mini satellite with only one payload. Okay, there was only one instrument. This was supposed to be placed in this 800 kilometer lower Earth orbit, and the objective was to study the sun's corona. Okay, what is corona? I'll just come to that in the next slide. Only solar corona was supposed to be studied by Aditya 1 mission. Right? The satellite, if placed in the halo orbit around point L1, will provide a continuous view of the sun without oscillation and eclipse. What is this L1 or Lagrangian point L1? I will discuss that in the next slide. So over the period of time, this Aditya 1 has been revamped into Aditya L1 with increased capacity of 6 payloads. Instead of a single payload to study just the solar corona, we are now going to study many other aspects about the sun like the corona, the photosphere, the chromosphere, the solar winds, the solar flares, the coronal mass ejections, and round-the-clock imaging of the sun would be done by Aditya L1 mission. Okay, so instead of a single instrument, we are going to send across 6 different instruments. Okay, and remember, Aditya L1 will be launched using a Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle XL, right? That is PSLV XL, right? PSLV XL, and remember, they can ask you something else like GSLV, etc. You must remember this. All right. So let's talk about this Lagrangian point. What exactly are these Lagrangian points? The Lagrangian points, these are positions where the gravitational pull of two large bodies precisely equal one another. Okay, let me just draw this for you. Let's assume this is the sun. Let's assume that this is the earth. Alright. So as you know, if I place an object over here, this object will be attracted by the gravitational force of the sun. This object will also be affected by the gravitational force of the earth. To counteract this, a counteracting centrifugal forces are also applied in the opposite directions. Okay, let's ignore that for now. Let's make it very simple. So this is your object, right? At these special points, what happens is the gravitational pull of the sun, let's just say it's equal to 10 newtons, right? The gravitational pull of the earth, let's say this is also equal to 10 newtons. So as you can see, they are equal, they are cancelling one another out, right? This is what happens at a Lagrangian point. So these are special points in space around the orbit of the earth. These are special points where you will see that the force, gravitational force of the sun and the earth, they cancel each other out. So that is the reason this place also happens to be a stable point. Okay, stable point. Another advantage of certain points is that this will give you a 24/7 access to the sun. Alright. So the Lagrangian points, they are positions where the gravitational pull of two large masses precisely equal the centrifugal force required for the smaller object to move. Or in simple language, this is what is happening. Okay, just remember this picture and it will make the process easier. So remember, there is not one point but there are 5 points. 5 points where this kind of a scenario happens, right? These 5 points are called as 5 Lagrangian points. They are L1, L2, L3, L4 and L5. Alright. So comparatively, if you see L1, L2, L3, they are unstable points, while L4 and L5, they are stable points. Okay. So points over here, they are L1, L2, L3, while L4 and L5 are at the back of the earth. Right. So let's be specific about the Lagrangian points. The L1 point of the Earth-Sun system, it affords an uninterrupted view of the sun, right? This is what is the advantage. It's an uninterrupted 24/7 you have a view of the sun, okay? And it's currently home to solar and heliospheric observatory satellites. So there is already an observatory satellite that has been placed over here. This does not belong to ISRO. As I told you, this is ISRO's first mission to explore the sun, all right? L1 point. If you talk about L2 point, this is ideal for astronomy because the spacecraft is close enough to readily communicate with the Earth. It can keep the sun, Earth and Moon behind the spacecraft for solar power, and with appropriate shielding provides a clear view of deep space for our telescopes. Okay. For example, there is this telescope it's called as James Webb telescopes. Okay. This has been positioned at L2. Right? I'm just telling you the relative advantages. If you see L3 point, this is hidden behind the sun. Until now, it has not been found very useful. Okay. So as you can see, L1 is ideal. Why? Because it is giving you 24/7 uninterrupted view of the sun. If you talk about L4 and L5, these are stable objects. Okay, and the objects orbiting such points, they are called as Trojan. Okay, don't confuse. We talk about Trojans while talking about cyber security. So this is a different kind of Trojan. All right. So as we can see, these are the 5 different Lagrangian points. You don't have to remember all of them. You should just have for word association. You should just remember. Okay, there are 5 orbits, and these are the advantages and disadvantages. So if you talk about L1, okay, it's giving you uninterrupted view of the sun. That is the reason we are placing our satellite Aditya L1 in this particular halo orbit around the point L1. Let's talk about the sun because we are going to study the sun. So let's talk about what we know about the sun. Sun, remember, it's a yellow dwarf star. Alright, it's a star. And it makes 99.8% of our solar system's mass. That means the entire mass of the solar system is 100 kilograms. 99.8 kilogram is made up by the sun itself. And sun, remember, it is just a massive ball of gases. Like all stars, the sun will someday run out of energy. When the sun starts to die, it will swell so big that it will engulf Mercury and Venus, and maybe it might even engulf the Earth also. Scientists predict that the sun is a little less than halfway through its lifetime. That means it is going to last for another 6.5 billion years. So we don't have to concern ourselves with the death of the sun. Alright? And what do we mean by a death of the sun? Remember, the sun, it is shining. Why? Because it has nuclear fuel. Alright? When this nuclear fuel gets over, the star, it starts to collapse under its own gravity. When this happens, we call it as the death of a star. Alright? But remember, our sun can last for another 6.5 billion years. That means our sun can burn fuel for the next 6.5 billion years. We don't have to worry about it. And remember, if our sun dies, our sun will not become a black hole. Okay? Why? Because our sun does not have enough mass to eventually undergo a supernova, undergo a very violent explosion called a supernova, and to become a black hole. So our sun's fate will not end in a black hole. Alright? But for now, we don't have to worry about the death of our sun. Why? Because it's still there. It is going to survive for the next 6.5 billion years. Eventually, remember, it's going to become a red giant, and then it will eventually become a white dwarf. Okay? And not a black hole. The sun, remember, the sun has 6 regions. At the core, the innermost region is the core. Outside the core, you have the radiative zone, and outside the radiative zone, you have the convective zone. Okay? This makes up the sun. Alright. Then if you talk about the atmosphere of the sun, from here onwards, from the photosphere onwards, the atmosphere of the sun starts to become visible. Alright. The visible, for example, if you look at the sun, alright, the sun is always visible like this, right? Right. This outermost part that is visible, this ring that is visible to our naked eye, that is called as the photosphere, and that is originally the atmosphere of the sun. It is not any other part of the sun, but that is the atmosphere of the sun. Okay, so that's where atmosphere begins. It is the photosphere. Then outside that photosphere, you have the chromosphere, and the outermost region, I told you, that is the solar corona. Okay, and remember, this corona, it extends to millions of kilometers. Alright, so these are the various parts of the sun. Let's try to understand each of the parts individually. The core of the sun, if you see in the sun's core, what happens? Hydrogen atoms fuse to make helium. Alright, so there's this process of fusion that takes place. Alright, hydrogen atoms, they combine together to form helium. So this is called as nuclear fusion. Enormous amount of energy is released. The energy produced is the source of sun's heat as well as the light that is getting emitted by the sun. Remember, this energy from the core, it radiates to the radiative zone or the radiative belt, and then eventually to the convective zone. And this process itself takes over 1,70,000 years. Alright. That's what the sunlight or the energy that we are feeling right now, it has been released in the process of fusion lakhs of years ago. Right? It is eventually reaching you right now. Then, if you talk about the atmosphere of the sun, as I told you, the photosphere, chromosphere, and the corona, they make up the thin atmosphere of the sun. This is where we see features such as sunspots. Okay, what are the sunspots? I will just explain it to you in the next slide. Okay, or let me just explain it to you. Sunspots, if you see, if this is the sun, right, like this, you would be able to see some spots. What is special about these spots is that over here, the surface temperature of the sun is less than its surrounding area. For example, if you measure surface temperature over here, this would be 6,000 Kelvin. But if you measure it at the sunspots, you will see that it is somewhere around 5,000 Kelvin. Right? So as you can see, comparatively in these points, the surface temperature is less than the surface temperature of the sun. Okay, so this is because of some sort of magnetic flux, magnetic activities that is taking place over here. We are still trying to understand the concept of solar sunspots, what really drives it, etc. Right? And thankfully, missions like Parker Solar Probe or Aditya L1 can throw more light onto this. Alright? The source of corona heating is still a mystery, as I told you. How this corona gets heated up? How is it so hotter than the sun itself? That is a mystery we are still trying to solve. The sun, remember, it releases a constant stream of particles and magnetic fields. These are called as solar winds. Alright? And the volume of space that is controlled by sun's magnetic field, it is called as heliosphere. So let me just draw this for you. For example, if this is the sun, these are the solar winds. Right? These are the solar winds. And this area that is getting influenced by the solar winds, this area entirely, it is called as the heliosphere. Right? And this, as you can see, this boundary till where the influence of the sun exists, this boundary is called as heliopause. Right? Heliopause. And beyond the heliopause, what you have, it is called as interstellar space. That means in the interstellar space, beyond the heliopause, you don't see the magnetic effects of the sun. You don't feel the effects of the sun anymore. Alright? So remember, this is the concept that is called as heliosphere. Let's talk about the sun cycle. If you see, the sun doesn't behave the same way all the time. It goes through phases of its own solar cycle. Right? Approximately, it is believed that it goes through a solar cycle that lasts up to 11 years. Okay, so this 11 years, over the period of these 11 years, you will see sun exhibits different kind of sunspot activity. That means during one cycle, the amount of sunspot activity increases. In the next cycle, the sunspot activity starts to decrease. Right? The sun's geographic poles change their magnetic polarity as well. This also takes place somewhere in 11 years. Alright, so as you can see, this all is associated with the sunspot activity. When this happens, remember, the sun's photosphere, chromosphere, and corona, they undergo changes from being very quiet and calm to violently active. Sometimes sun is very calm, other times sun is violently active. What do you mean by violently active? That means they are emitting so many amount of radiation, so much amount of particles, magnetic fields, etc. is being emitted by them. Other times they are calm, they don't emit that much. The height of sun's activity is known as solar maximum. Okay, so this is the time of solar storms like sunspots, solar flares, coronal mass ejections. All these things are ejected by the sun. You see the intensity of these activities of the sun, it increases. Alright, these are caused by irregularities in sun's own magnetic field and can release huge amount of energy and particles, and some of this eventually ends up reaching us as well. Okay, this space weather can damage satellites, corrode pipelines, and also affect power grids. Right? This is not a good thing. When sun becomes violently active, it is throwing around particles and solar storms and solar flares and coronal mass ejections. Eventually, they do reach the Earth. It's not good for us. How? Because it can damage our satellites, it can corrode our pipelines, and also affect power grids. Let's now talk about Parker Solar Probe. Since we are discussing about missions to the sun, there is another interesting and related concept. Parker Solar Probe, remember, this is a part of NASA's Living with the Star program. Remember, NASA has a lot of programs. For example, it has this Great Observatories program. Similarly, NASA has this New Frontiers program, right? Just try to remember them. For example, one is called as Great Observatories program. And there's this New Frontiers program. You might have heard about Juno mission, right? Juno is a part of this New Frontiers program. Then there's this OSIRIS-REx. Okay. This is also a part of this. Then you might have heard about New Horizon. This is also a part of this New Frontiers program. Similarly, a recent one, this is called as Dragonfly. This is meant to explore Titan. This is also a part of New Frontiers program. Similarly, Great Observatories program. For example, you have Chandra X-rays, right? Then you have the Hubble Space Telescope. Then you had Spitzer. Then you had Thornton. Okay, these are all space telescopes. These are all together. These constitute what is called as the Great Observatories program. While these are missions, for example, Juno was a mission to Jupiter. UPSC Mains 2017 General Studies Paper 1, a question related to Juno mission was asked. Then we have OSIRIS-REx. This was a mission to explore this asteroid. It is called as Bennu. Then New Horizon. And then we have Dragonfly. It is going to explore Titan, which is basically a moon of Saturn. Alright, just try to remember the names. So like this is a program. It is called as NASA's Living with the Star program. Alright. So Parker Solar Probe is a part of this NASA's Living with the Star program. The idea is to explore aspects of Sun-Earth system that directly affect life and our society. It is going to use Venus's gravity during its 7th flyby to bring its orbit closer to the Sun. What is the idea behind this? This Parker Slope is doing something very, very good. It is going to move towards the Sun. It is going to keep on moving towards the Sun. It is going to face the brutal heat of the Sun. See, the spacecraft will fly through the Sun's atmosphere as close as 3.8 million miles to our star surface, well within the orbit of Mercury and more than 7 times closer than any spacecraft has come before. So this is going to be the closest ever picture that we are going to get of the Sun. It is going to fly right into the outermost layer of the solar corona, and it will enhance our understanding about the corona itself, the origin and the nature of the solar belts. It will also make critical contributions to our ability to forecast changes in Earth's space environment that affect life and technology. Right? This Parker Solar Probe, it is going to carry on. It will keep on moving forward towards the Sun. It is going to face the brutal heat of the Sun. It's going to give you the closest ever picture of the Sun. Right? This will help us understand more about the solar corona and about the origin and nature of solar belts. So this is all for now. I'll take another interesting topic from Science and Technology Current Affairs in the next lesson. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.